Welcome, everybody, to the Gil Hodges Freedom Podcast. I've got John T. Long with me today, and very, very powerful story of transformation that I want him to share with you today. And we're going to jump right in. So, if you're watching this, share it, tell your friends. This is going to be a great opportunity to inspire a lot of people. So, John, welcome to the show. Appreciate you coming on here. And I would like you to just, if you wouldn't mind, taking a minute or two and share a little bit about who you are and maybe a little bit about your story, and or we can dive into that later. But just who are you today? What do you do? And then let's jump into your story.
Okay, yeah, thanks for having me. It's an honor being here, Gail. It was great meeting you up at Jenny's too.
Yeah.
Uh, Had a good time up there.
Well,
Um, yeah, I was born and raised in Birmingham, Alabama,
okay.
and I've lived in uh, New Orleans, Louisiana for a short period when I was 6 years old to 12 years old, and then we moved back to Birmingham and I stayed here in Birmingham. Well, I stayed in Birmingham until graduated from University of Alabama in 1981. Um,
Yeah.
Degree in American Studies and minored in English and sociology. Basically, it was you kind of pick and choose what courses you take. It was
Right.
pretty good. Then I moved out to Houston, Texas, and got a job as a claims adjuster, Continental Insurance. Did that for about 4 years, moved up to Bryan, College Station, Texas, got laid off with that company, moved back to Birmingham. Sorry, I had a phone call coming in. And then got a job at another insurance company and moved to Montgomery.
Yeah.
And was working out of my home as a resident adjuster, which that kind of, I look back on that, it kind of gave me discipline, because I wasn't going to an office or anything.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so, and then I decided to go to law school down in Montgomery.
Okay.
Um, that was back in 1995-ish.
Yeah.
And I graduated from law school in 1996, took the bar in February of 96, I believe, and passed it by 1 point. And my mother at the time said, I wouldn't tell anybody that. And I said, well, it doesn't really matter because I'm a lawyer no matter what. So, and I think I was real positive that I did good on it and that I passed. I think that probably had something to do with it. Like gave me an extra point, because thoughts are things. So,
Right.
never
Yeah.
know.
So now, what about your spiritual journey along the way? Um,
Yeah. Well, back when I was a teenager, I read Many Lives, Many Masters. So I've always been believed in reincarnation,
okay.
right? And so I was delving into the quote unquote new age stuff back then. I'm meditating on my chakras, the energy centers in our body.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, I was kind of like a pothead, I smoked pot pretty much all the time, except when I was in school. But other than that, and not a big drinker. And so eventually, back in 1999, I got arrested for possession of crack cocaine, and
Oh.
the bar sent me to treatment. And So I relapsed one time after about 4 months, but um, when I got out of treatment, my then wife had moved. We were living in a double wide mobile home, basically like animals,
Mm,
drinking and doing drugs. And so when I get out of treatment, she had moved in with her sister into the middle of a car junkyard in downtown Centerville, Alabama.
okay.
And so when I get out of treatment, I moved into a single wide mobile home in the middle of a car junkyard. There was 8 of us living in that mobile home. My 2 kids, her kid, not her kid, her sister's husband, and her kid, and a baby.
Wow.
And so,
Wow.
yeah, so I was getting sober. This was back in 2000. November 15th of 2000 was my original sobriety date. And so that was really the beginning of my spiritual journey when I got sober, basically. I mean, really, focusing on working on myself, working through the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous. And we
Yeah.
get into argument one night, and she said, "Get out." I said, "What?" She goes, "Get out." I said, "You're throwing me out of your sister's trailer?" And she goes, "Yeah." I said, "After all I've done for you, this is what it's come down to." So I got thrown out of a junkyard. That's how far I had to go.
Wow.
But I was 60 days sober when I got thrown out of the junkyard, and me and my kids, I had 2 black plastic garbage bags of our clothes. That's all I had to my name because I lost everything smoking crack.
Wow.
And, the bar, I was on disability status with the bar, so I wasn't practicing law.
Hmm. Hmm.
So you know, I got a job working at selling cars, so I was selling cars slash attorney. Nobody believed a word I said because I was a used car salesman and attorney.
Oh, wow.
That's a joke. I actually did pretty good. I did pulled a hat trick one day. I sold 3 cars in one day. So I did that for a year and got my license back and just started practicing law again back in probably early 2002.
Yeah.
And I've been going ever since, from there up until probably a few years ago. I've just been just consuming knowledge, right?
Yeah.
And so it's kind of slowed down now. I'm living and experiencing everything I've learned. So
Okay.
I'm
Now,
trying to.
well, and the humility I think is a big part of us actually becoming authentic and getting down to who we really are and living life. Now you've written a book, right?
Yeah,
What
2
what is
books.
okay, so tell me a little bit about the books and what's in those.
Yeah, so my first book is kind of like my memoirs. So I have my spiritual journey in there, intertwined with prayers and meditations. Um, really what got me early on too is have you ever watched the movie What the Bleep? Do you know What the Bleep?
I don't think I have.
It's called What the Bleep, and
Yeah.
it's about quantum physics for dummies, basically.
Okay.
And it's a great movie. And so after I watched that movie, my son got me to watch it, and I was walking in the Galleria one day, and I walked out into the food court, and all of a sudden, every time just started slow down, and I was looking around like this, real slow, and it was filled with these high school people. Uh, they were all wearing white shirts and black pants. So it
Hmm.
was just kind of surreal. But I was walking, and out of the corner of my eye, I saw these two kids throwing a super ball back and forth. Right,
Yeah.
super ball, when it bounces, it goes, it really takes off.
Yeah.
And so I was just walking. I saw it out of the corner of my eye, and all of a sudden my hand went out like that, and I caught the super ball because one of the kids had missed it. I mean, this was all me walking all in one motion, and I looked at it, and I looked at them, and so, it was all in slow motion. And I threw it back to them, and they were probably going, "Wow, who is this guy?" But that was just a time shift, for me, and you know, kind of told me we're kind of in a simulation. I see that now. But
Hmm.
anyway, so there's stories like that in there. I met Wayne Dyer. Have you ever heard of Wayne Dyer?
I've heard the name. Yeah.
Yeah, he wrote a lot of books. He's no longer alive, but he was a great spiritual teacher, um, and played golf with James Redfield. You know him, the Celestine Prophecy.
Right.
So
Right.
all these synchronicities were happening. I was about 5 years sober, and I'd broken up with this girl, and it was like, my really first dark night of the soul, right? So,
Yeah.
and I've had a lot of those. I've had a lot of those in sobriety, and
Yeah.
usually have to do with a relationship.
Wow. Hmm.
And so, and I was working on myself all that time. I was staying in a state of prayer. I was meditating an hour a day, every day, on my chakras, bringing the energy in. This is all in the book, right?
Yeah.
And there's a chakra meditation in the book that's really good.
Now, did you
Um,
learn this yourself, or did you pick this up
it's
from
all
others?
self-taught, self-taught.
Okay. Okay. Uh,
Yeah,
so, what is the name of the book, and where would people get it?
yeah. It's the Book of John, not the
Okay.
one in the Bible. Identify, delete, and reprogram a new subconscious mind. It's on Amazon. It's fixing to come out in Audible.
Okay.
Um, yeah, and there's a it's on Amazon.
So, what are some of the principles that you share and teach in the book?
Um, well, I mean, it's just my story. So it's got everything that I've done over the past 30 years to raise my frequency, my vibration.
Yeah.
It's full of prayers, meditations, intertwined with personal stories. Um, you'll be laughing, you'll be crying, you'll be saying, "Oh my God," a lot. Like, how is this guy still alive? I mean, I've been through wrecks. I mean, it's just incredible. I've probably lived about at least 10 lifetimes in this one life.
Wow. Wow. So, with what you've learned, I'm just curious, what are some of the main things you would share or, teach somebody, maybe a young person who's kind of just starting to get started in life? What would be some of the things you would, share with them or teach them or direct them? What direction would you give them?
Well, I would really advise that you start doing prayers and meditations, especially the chakra meditations, because that's bringing energy into your body. That's our spiritual energy system.
Yeah.
So, um, I would recommend that. And it's everybody's got their own journey. Go to the bookstore, and I mean, I went to the bookstore one time just, looking for something to read, and I walked directly to the New Age section, and I picked up Conversations with God
Oh, yeah.
and took it to the counter and paid for it. And I'm thinking like, how did that happen? You know, but that
Yeah.
was just, and that was a profound book for me.
Yeah.
Um, you
Well,
know,
and it is interesting, like you said, everyone's got their own journey. Everyone should have their own journey. And there are people that, like yourself, that just read and gain knowledge and read and, just any way you can bring in knowledge that way. And I used to kind of be that way, but about 7 or 8 years ago, I just felt like God, source, just said to me, stop reading, stop watching videos. Now, for the most part, there's a time or
yeah,
two here or there where I feel like, I'm prompted to read something or to watch something. But for the most part, I ignore probably 95% of everything people send to me, just because what what God was saying was, why would you want to go get things secondhand? Why not get
right,
them directly from me? And so everything, pretty much everything I share is stuff I've got from downloads. And then the beautiful part of that is the confirmations that I get when I share what I'm getting, and people say, "Oh, so and so's teaching that," or somebody else is sharing that. It's like, yeah, God's sharing this all over the place. It's just who's listening and willing to pick it up and share it. Um, but I would rather get mine straight from source. I think it's a beautiful,
yeah,
for me, that's the beautiful life. That's the beautiful journey. But for others, it may very well be, collecting that information and then kind of assimilating it and bringing it down into something that they teach, and it becomes theirs because they're teaching it in their way that they would like to say it or the way they understand it.
right,
Yeah.
right, yeah, and my belief is there's the religious notion that there's some God sitting on a throne with a white beard, white hair, and a beard, and
Yeah.
got a lamb on one side and a goat on it. I just never believed in that. So my experience and belief has mostly been formed by my experience, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so that's what my second book is about. Um, there's a higher part of me, right? A spirit, a spiritual being, and I kind of relate it to Avatar.
Yeah.
Is in a different dimension, higher part of me,
Right.
being of
Right.
light, however you want to call it. And he's focused his attention into this human body because he wants to experience what it feels like to be happy, to be sad, to eat, to drink, to be merry, the good, the bad, and the ugly. He wants to
Yeah.
experience all that through me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, it's what he wants to experience, not
Right.
what not as a human. So
Yeah.
he's in control. If he wants to experience what it's like to have cancer, I'm gonna get cancer. I mean, that's just an example, you know what I mean? But
Yeah.
it's all about the experience.
Well, and you know what? This is interesting. Okay, so I really thrive and I get excited when I can talk with people like yourself, where we can just get into conversation and we can start sharing points of view, different ways of seeing things. And it's like,
Yeah,
doesn't matter, it's not like one is right and one is wrong. It's just sharing the different points of view. And yet what you're sharing really resonates with my own experience. In fact, I just got done recording another show, literally about 20 minutes before I came on to talk with you, doing
yeah,
another show where I was talking with one of the guys that I was with clear back in, I think it was 2020, about 4 or 5 years ago. Myself and then another gentleman that we all miss and love, Christopher Carter. And we had this upper room experience where we were sharing something. And what it was is I had something I wanted to share with them. And it was similar to what you were just sharing there, that I had this vision, I had this encounter where You could say Holy Spirit. I'll call it Holy Spirit because I mean, I believe God gives us different ways to relate to Him. And the way I relate to Him is Father, Son, Holy Spirit. I am totally convinced that He's so much more than that. But that's just how He's given to me to relate to Him. And I love it. It works for me. Anyway, so I see Holy Spirit coming up and she comes up and she stops right in front of me. By the way, I'm just floating in space. I'm floating in
Yeah.
outer space. It's total blackness. There's no stars or anything. And she comes up out of the distance and she stops right in front of me and she says, "Do you like it?" I'm like what? And she says, "It's yours." I'm like, so I'm kind of puzzled at the moment. That goes off into another story. But then she comes back around and she says, "This is your 300th mission, right?" I'm like, you talking about reincarnation? Which at the time I really didn't believe in reincarnation at that time. And she goes, "Well,
Yeah.
no, I'm not talking about reincarnation. I'm talking about God has infinite universes. He has infinite creations that He's created. And He has given you the opportunity to go experience this one. And as I'm experiencing this, everything I'm experiencing is like going up into the cloud. The cloud would be God. Your
Yeah.
experience, my experience, the blade of grass, the pen, every experience of everything is being uploaded to God. And so God
Right.
is getting this massive, massive experience of every star and every piece of dust. And, He's just got all of this experience that's being uploaded to Him. And we're a piece and a part of that, which is kind of cool.
Right. Yeah. And I've described God as a mirror. At one time he was a mirror
Yeah.
and he fell and broke into a bazillion pieces. And we're all part of that mirror. We're separate, but yet we're part of the mirror.
Right.
And we're
Yeah.
each individual, in parts of
Yeah.
the broken glass, so to speak.
Yeah, and so I love this because again, it's like we're talking and looking at different points of view or different ways of seeing things. And the way that it was shown to me in a vision is I saw this massive scroll, just, like a universal size scroll that was unrolling. And this was God. It was His story. And then out from the scroll comes a little bitty scroll. This is my story.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. History, break that apart.
History.
His
Yeah.
story.
Right. Right. No, I love that. I love it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, you know, um, one of the things you were talking about is the breathing. Where did you pick that up? Where did you pick up the idea that breathing was important and had an effect on you?
Breathing.
Breath work and
Oh,
meditation.
oh. I mean, I've done a lot of research when I was growing, in my teenage years, and
Hmm.
it just resonated with me to. But yeah, that's great breath work. Now that you mention it, because I'm taking a deep breath in and I'm bringing energy in, and imagine, I start at my base chakra, which is red. So I bring it in, bring the energy in down to the chakra, right? And I imagine a spinning vortex, okay?
Yeah.
And so when I breathe out, I use the universal Om.
Hmm. Hmm.
So that is great breath work, breathing in and breathing out. And I do that 10 times with each chakra, so it takes about an hour.
Oh,
And
wow.
I do that. I was doing it every day. I don't know, when I broke my last breakup of a relationship was the deepest, darkest, dark night of the soul that I've ever experienced. And
Hmm.
I was doing that every day for about 8 months for an hour a day. And when we get into the book, I'll tell you the story about that.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Yeah, because again, the breath work, the meditations, the revelation, the chakras, the energy centers, though those are all things that I've heard bits and pieces, throughout my life, obviously, but it was in meditation that I just began to get downloads. And And one thing I find that is interesting is with the breath work, almost everybody out there that teaches breath work, they teach to breathe in through the nose. And you know, there's nothing wrong with that, but the breath work I was given was it's more of a suddenly because it's a pattern break. And so it's a deep breath, you know, that is a sudden breath in through the mouth, and it fills the diaphragm, fills the chest, and then fills the top of the head. And you know what I envision while I'm seeing that is starting at the root chakra. It's like bringing that breath in and all the way up to the top of the head, and then holding it for just a few seconds while it's in the head, and then blow it out the crown chakra. And it's just like
Yeah.
clearing these energy centers. And by clearing those, by the time you just get to the third breath and you hold it there, it's like all of your thoughts are being wiped out and cleared so that you can
Yeah.
enter into the void where you've got no attachments to the worldly things that distract you. And it's
Right.
very, very powerful.
Yeah. And you know what? Everybody's right according to them,
Right? Yep.
because they've been brought up a certain way. They've had certain, experiences and certain teachings and experiences. So that's what I say is everybody's right. So that just blows out every argument you could ever come
Yeah.
up with, because arguments are pointless anyway, because you're just arguing your point of view and telling the other person that your point of view is better than their point of view.
And it's just an ego trip.
Yeah, yeah, exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
So I'm real curious though, how do you manage that thought with being a lawyer?
Well, I manage it because I just make my argument and then they make their argument and the judge makes a decision.
Okay,
So,
okay.
so I'm kind of out of it, really. That
Right.
puts me out of it. I
Yeah.
ask God to guide my words, thoughts, and actions before I go into a court. And, if I've got an argument or something, and it's
Hmm.
basically very informal.
Yeah.
I mean, they don't even read the damn motions. I was in court a couple of days ago, and I filed all these damn motions, and I don't even think anybody ever read them. We just
Yeah.
go in and shoot the shit and in the judge's office and come up with a plan, and then the guardian ad litem writes the order, sends it to the sends it to me and my client, and we approve it, and they send it to the judge. He signs it. It's a done deal. So
Not
yeah,
as
it's really
drama like as TV would make it be, huh?
not at all. Not at all. No, no.
Yeah. Well, so I think we got like 10 minutes on this public section left. Tell me, okay, a couple things. Tell everybody again how they can get a hold of you, how they can get the book. If they want to reach out and talk to you more, how would they do that? Let's start there and then,
Go to johntlong.com,
okay.
my website. It's
All
got
right.
both my books. I also travel around the country and I sell these crystal wands. Should have brought
I
one with me,
saw
but
those.
yeah.
I,
So
yeah, I
yeah,
saw
so
those
it's
at
got
Jenny's retreat. Those were pretty spectacular. Yeah.
yeah, and they're you know, I learned to make those from a Wiccan. There's a friend of mine a long time ago, back in like 2008ish,
Mm-hmm.
and I saw he had a wand. It had a crystal on the end of it, and so he told me how to make it, but I improved the design and wrapped mine in leather, and I put very powerful earth magnets. So I've alternated in a copper tube, which is conductive, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I've enclosed the copper tube with a very powerful earth magnet, alternating crystal, magnet, crystal, magnet, crystal. So it's a threefold energy system. You can use it for prayer and meditation by holding it in your left hand, brings energy in, um, and you can feel it. I mean, it took me days before I could even hold one for very long. I mean, I just have to put it down. That's how powerful they are.
Wow.
And they've each got their own unique personality because they got different crystals. Um, you know, and then hold it in the right hand amplifies and intensifies your intentions and connects with the magnetic and electrical field of whatever object it is you're trying to attract to you vis-a-vis the law of attraction.
Yeah.
So
Wait,
that's, you know,
the
that's it.
I love that. And again, so that's on your website, right? If anybody were
Yeah,
interested in this. Okay.
yeah,
So
yeah.
the thing I want to ask about, because I know there's going to be some of my listeners who are going to be a little shocked at the idea that you talked with somebody who was in Wicca. So what is your take on Wicca itself in terms of um, spiritual energy and because I know a lot of people are afraid of it. So
Yeah, well, that's just thanks to the, you know, Catholic Church, basically, and, you know, burning witches at the stake in Salem, Massachusetts, which, you know, witches are just basically, you know, they work with nature, and that's really about it, you know.
mhm, mhm.
They don't practice black magic. Um, I don't know if I really believe you can't influence somebody. I mean, that karma is going to come back on you.
Yeah.
So if you know, put a spell on somebody, you know, it's that's why the universe has karma. You can't escape that.
Yeah.
There's no way. I
And I
mean,
think
the magicians out there trying to influence the world and, you know, putting all this stuff out in the open and saying, well, we told you, you know, about so and so we don't have any karma. Well, that's bullshit. But not only is it bullshit, but we play the parts.
yeah.
Okay. So maybe in a previous lifetime I played the bad guy.
Hmm.
This time I'm the good. You know what I mean? I mean,
Yeah.
we're all just playing parts in a great big show.
Yeah.
And,
You know, and I think part of what I'm doing with my group, the Gathering, as well as here at the Pearl, is I'm looking for specifically three things that people have a heart of love, joy, and peace, and that love is meant to be unconditional. So I believe that the God of the universe, which I believe is the energy, the Christ consciousness, it's all one and the same thing. It's the fabric of the universe is love. And that is the mind and heart of Christ, of God. And Jesus Christ was not his last name. It was the energy and the anointing that he worked under that each and every one of us have the same power to work under.
yeah,
And so when we understand that God is that big and he's in control, everything is in him, and we get so bent out of shape when we let our fear take over. And when somebody does something differently than we would do it, we want to especially a certain group of people want to cast stones and hang, and crucify and burn at the stake those people that are different than them. When now,
right.
if someone's doing harm to somebody, if they're truly doing harm to somebody, yeah, I would want to bring that to a stop. But, like you said, for the most part, it's just a different way of doing things. And I know I'm going to get a lot of stones thrown at me online for even making that statement. But I would say, we need to give people the benefit of the doubt until we see their heart. And here's the thing. It's like you and I both know a person that in the circles that I used to run in, that person, had she, shared who and what she does right up front, would have been crucified and cast out and thrown out. And yet I know that some of the same people that run in my circles who got to know her and then heard what she did, it was like, oh, that's interesting, because they had developed a relationship. And that's the thing that most people today aren't willing to take the time to build a relationship with someone and get to know someone and actually hear their heart and hear them out as to why they believe and do what they do. And for the most part, I'm not saying it's across the board, but for the most part, people are good-hearted and they're all on a journey to find, they're all on their own spiritual journey. And
Right, exactly.
and as long as it's, to me, as long as it's a journey that is, going toward love and joy and peace, hey, we're on the same path.
Right. But you have to understand too that we have soul contracts.
Oh yeah.
So you know, um have you ever heard of Neil Donald Walsh and the Little Soul in the Sun? You
I
ever
don't
heard that
think I have.
story?
I don't
I
think I
put
have.
that in my second book, but it's, it talks about, you know, God talking to all the spirits in heaven. It's a metaphor.
Hmm. Hmm.
And he goes, well, who wants to volunteer to go to Earth and, you know, um, be the good and the bad? And so they had these two volunteers, and the second volunteer said, "Oh well, no matter how much you treat me and hit me and beat me, I'm still going to love you unconditionally because I know who you really are."
Hmm. Hmm. Interesting.
Yeah,
That is really powerful.
it is. You need to read. You need to read
So
"The Little Soul in the Sun" by
so
Neil Donald Walsh.
okay, we'll
Yeah.
keep that in mind there. There's some other books, and I can't even think the name, but the fact is, there's a lot of shift of people moving to the idea that we chose to come here. You
Oh
know,
yeah.
so we chose to come here, and yeah, so what you just shared makes a lot of sense. That
Without a doubt, because after this last breakup with this my fiance, I'll get into all the details later, but basically I was in a deep meditation after we broke up, and she never told me, why.
hmm.
And I was in a deep, deep meditation, and a platform appeared in my mind, and she comes out on the stage and does a curtsy like great performance. And I found out later that we had all planned to come down here into these bodies, and it was a soul agreement between me, my soul mate, and my twin flame to meet and go through all this stuff so I could learn, I could experience unconditional love.
Yeah.
And everything, every part of that relationship was perfectly orchestrated to where I learned unconditional love.
And that's the premise of my book, Choice, is that we're here to learn to love. And
Yeah.
so, we're not,
Experience. We are love. We
yeah,
don't learn it. We need to experience
remember
it,
it.
right? Yeah. So
Yeah.
that's what the little soul in the sun does, is that it's all about the experience. I want to experience all the good, the bad, and the ugly,
And
because nothing really matters.
and
We're
that
eternal beings.
and that is so true, but it's such a hard concept to get across to some people because they get
It
so
is.
wrapped
It
up
is.
in the events. Anyway, we're going to wrap up this section here, and I'm just going to say to everybody, hey, if you want to see the entire show, John and I are going to keep going. And we got some really good rabbit holes to go down here. I'm excited. But the second half of the show, if you want to see it, go to either kingdomtalksmedia.com or gilhodgesfreedom.com, and you'll be able to get the second part of the show. It's a membership section, and that's for our partners who are helping to support this ministry. And so, if you are interested in learning more, hearing more about what we're talking about, go check those out, and look forward to seeing you over there. And I appreciate everybody who's been watching. Blessings to all of you. And John, thank you for doing this. And stick around, stay on, because we're going to just keep right on going here. But blessings to
Okay.
everybody, and we will see you
Yeah.
all next time.
Thanks.
Take care. All right, so John, yeah, so this is getting fun. The whole thing about we came here with a purpose. We came here to experience life and to understand that that experience is what we're here for. That it's not necessarily good or bad. It's just an experience.
Right. Exactly.
And
exactly. And our higher self is so powerful that we could be focused in this body in this lifetime and also in different bodies in different lifetimes all at the same time.
yeah, that's
And,
well,
and, and
here's
so when I dream, I think I'm going into different lives,
oh yeah. So
you
here's
know.
the, and I don't know if we shared or talked about this at the retreat, but this is what I got from my downloads and experience in meditation is that there's basically, and there's probably more, but there's three things that I've been shown. One is there's the core of you, and to me, the core of you is where God, the essence of the universe, decided to break off a piece of himself and make you an individual, give you that individual that define, be able to define you as John in this lifetime. Um,
Right.
so there's that core of you, and that's where God, in his mind, in being of love, says, "Ah, I'm going to make John." Bloop, there's John, and John is loved unconditionally, and there's nothing you can do about it. You can't add to it, you can't take away from it. That's it. That's the core of you. And then there's the higher self, which is that spiritual you that you were just talking about, that has that ability to rise above the circumstances, to recognize and have that consciousness outside of my existence right here. In fact, I teach and I share, for especially Christians, that step outside and go sit on the throne next to Jesus, to where there's you, Jesus, Father, and Holy Spirit, and you're just all sitting there, and you're looking down on, in this case, I'm saying you're looking down on Gil, and he's having an experience down there. Check that out. Is that cool or what? Boy, it sucks right now for him, but that's an experience, man. He's having an experience. And just to be able to view it that way can take and put life into a totally different perspective, to where I'm not so caught up in my circumstances. I'm not overwhelmed by them. I'm not being beaten down and a victim of them. It's no, I'm just having an experience. It does, I could say at times, yeah, it sucks at times. I don't like it, and I would prefer to be out of it, but I also want to experience it to the fullest of whatever I'm supposed to experience, so that to me, that's integrity, to experience it fully.
Right. And that reminds me of when I was reading Eckhart Tolle, The Power of Now.
Okay.
I was going when I was going through that first little surrender I did about 5 years sober,
Yeah, yeah.
and I had all these synchronicities, and so I was reading that, and I was, when you're going through something, you get up in your head. That he calls it the incessant chattering. So when I
Yep.
started getting up in my head, I had this image of a little part of me just sitting here next to me, watching my thoughts.
Yeah, yeah.
And so, when something is watching my thoughts, they subside. Your ego doesn't want something to watch it, right? That's
Right.
what he talks about in The Power of Now. And
Yeah,
so when I did that, the thoughts would subside.
yeah.
They would go down, and so I just kept doing that and kept doing it, and that's when this friend of mine called and told me that Wayne Dyer was going to be at an AA meeting in Birmingham, and I said, "Really?" And
Hmm.
he's, "Yeah." And so, yeah, his daughter was in AA, and she overdosed years ago,
Hmm.
after I knew her. But anyway, so I got there an hour early because I was reading his book, Manifest Your Destiny, which
Yeah.
he talks about you manifest, if you think about, oh, you know, I never have any money, I don't have anything to
Yeah.
eat. I mean, you're attracting that. You're attracting more of that, right? You're attracting more of not having any money or not having anything to eat, right?
Yeah.
So I got there like an hour early waiting on him, and he comes in and he walks over and sits down next to me. And I said, "Hey, I'm reading your book. I love you. I love all you. I've read a bunch of his books. He's just like a spiritual guru." And he did. And so um, I said, yeah, I'm reading Eckhart Tolle, The Power of Now. He goes, oh, yeah, he's a walk-in. Just, matter of factly. I
Yeah,
said, really? He said, yeah. So he signed my book. I got it framed in my office, and so
that's
we
so cool.
talked, and his daughter's name was Summer. And I was friends with Summer because she was in treatment, right? And I wasn't in treatment, but I was in the program of Alcoholics Anonymous, going to meetings. I'd see her at meetings, and we'd
Yeah.
go out to eat. And that's the beautiful girl. Um, she was a lot younger than me, so uh, I'd heard that her dad was going to be speaking at a seminar over in Atlanta. And so I got her and a bunch of friends to drive over to Atlanta, right, to see him because I knew I was going to get in free. Well, I was with her, so it's kind of a selfish motive, right? Because I
Yeah.
knew I knew she would get us in, and so we get over there, and that's when I was starting to make my wands. So I had a bunch of wands, and some girls went with us, and man, it was like that we were reading each other's thoughts, and I mean, it was so many synchronicities.
Yeah.
Somebody would say something, I'd say, I was just thinking that. So we get over to Atlanta, and here comes Wayne and his entourage. He's got a bunch of people helping him. And he goes, come on, I got y'all a front row seat saved. And so there was about 8 or 10 of us right on the front row. It was about five or 800 people, at the seminar. And it
Wow.
was all about, guess what? Unconditional love.
Wow. Yeah. That is
And
so
and
powerful.
so we were sitting there. Let me finish real quick, and then,
Mhm.
but he was talking about unconditional love, and he brings out his other daughter. What was her name? This is all in the book. Um, but anyway, she sang,
Hmm.
and it was just beautiful. I mean, it brought tears to your eyes. And she walks up to Summer, and she goes, "I want to forgive you, Summer. Because growing up with an addict, man, I mean, it's horrible. It's horrible. They steal your money. They get arrested. It's just a nightmare." And so everybody in the whole audience starts crying because she goes, "I love you unconditionally. I forgive you." And she
Wow.
starts crying. Wayne Dyer starts crying. The whole audience starts crying. And Wayne pulls out a handkerchief and he goes, "Y'all could probably sell this on eBay because it's got my tears in it or something." Everybody laughed. And so then Summer turned to me. She goes, "John, if it wasn't for you, none of this would have happened."
Mm.
So I've always been a facilitator, right? Having things happen that I don't know about. And
Yeah.
that was real powerful. I mean, like, wow, I didn't even know what I was doing. I was just trying to get in free, and I brought them together so she could forgive her, right? I didn't even know that.
Isn't that awesome? I mean, that to me is the power of God, the universe, that, God knew exactly what was going on. And he spoke a word, whispered something in your ear, and you moved on it on a different level, maybe thinking you were doing something else. But then
Right, right,
turns out it was all for a purpose that you didn't even know about.
right, right.
Greater purpose. And I do love the whole concept, for me, I have in my retreats we do meditation, or manifestation meditations, and it really is all about, I take people into the quantum field. Either you can call it the quantum field or you call it the creative heart of God. To me, the universe has already created everything we ever have needed. It may not
Sure.
be manifested yet, but it's already there. And so when we go into that quantum field where everything is happening all the time, we get to actually just sit there and watch the things that God has created for us, watch those things approach us. And when we're free and when we have let go of things, because when we get to that place where I want, I need, I gotta have, That's an energy that people don't understand. It's a repelling energy. And it's an energy that says, I don't have it. You know, I want it means I don't have it. I need it
Right.
means I don't have it. It's a
Right.
repelling energy. And so when we've got that attitude, it repels everything. But when we just let go, it creates a vacuum to where those things that have been already created for us will approach us. And all we have to do is reach out to receive it, not grab it, but just reach out to receive it. And I just, I teach people in the meditations while we're in the meditations, just gently just receive it and let it know you cherish it and love it and bring it into your heart. And when we do that in the
Exactly.
spirit, we are the portal that brings things from the spiritual realm, that quantum field. We bring it into existence into this realm. And then when we get here, not to come back and then say, I want it this way, then we've just gone
Right.
back to the same thing of I'm controlling and I'm manipulating. But to come back and just release it and then watch with gratitude, hearts of gratitude, just watch to see it manifest and to
Yeah.
have what I call an expectancy, not an expectation, but an expectancy that God is good and you've released this thing that He's given to you. Now just watch it manifest in a great and awesome way. And just don't try to dictate what it's going to be. Let it
Right.
manifest and be joyful over what it manifests. And it's just a beautiful
Exactly.
process.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I did about a little over a year ago. I was needing a new car, right?
Hmm.
And so I was imagining that, I was driving it and, that I already had it. I
Yeah.
imagined I already had it. And I was feeling the love and joy of already having it. I sent that out in the universe. And I said, well, I've got to take some sort of action. So I started investing in cryptocurrency, right? And my plan was to invest in cryptocurrency when it went up, take it out and buy a car. Well, the universe didn't want it that way. So last summer, my son and his boyfriend's car broke down. Well, actually, his husband. They borrowed a car because they were going to Birmingham, and the car broke down on the interstate, northbound on Interstate 65. So
Yeah.
they were standing on the side of the road waiting for a ride that they had called to come get them. Well, a rock truck headed southbound on I 65 overturns and hurls a 60-pound boulder across the interstate and struck David in the back, broke 3 ribs, and lacerated his spleen. I didn't even believe it when they told me,
That, yeah.
right? I said, "What? What the hell?" I mean, he was okay. They took him to the emergency room, and he was seriously injured, but you know what I mean. It
It's
wasn't that
okay.
bad. Anyway, I
Yeah.
ended up settling that case for $300,000 last November.
Wow.
Got them a car, got me a brand new car. So that's how the universe brought me the car. I
Yeah.
would have never figured that out in a million years.
Exactly. Exactly. Well, and it's like, um, I don't know how much of this I want to share right now, but manifesting funds. The Pearl it's a $1.5 million project. Um,
Uh-huh.
and it's to me, it's a beautiful, beautiful space and place where people, with that heart of love and joy and peace, are coming of all different types of beliefs and different ideas, but we come here to share them, not to put them on everybody and say you got to believe it this way. But anyway, that manifestation of 1.5 million, that's a big chunk. At least in my
Yeah.
life, it's a big chunk. But um, I'm just God's been just revealing a few little key things that have begun to open up doors, and I'm just like, holy cow, this is almost unbelievable. Just how
Yeah.
one thing after another, they're little things right now, but they're manifesting. And I'll just
Right.
throw this out there because it's one of the things that actually a friend of mine who's coming to live here, Nicholas, he sent me something that sparked this. And what it boiled down to is using his AI, talking with his AI, and he figured out this process. And it's so true. It's like in sales. In sales, if I come to you and say, Do you know anybody that would want to buy this car? Most people go, no. Oh, okay. But if I come to you and say, hey, who do you know that would want to buy this car? Well, it creates a different reaction in the brain. The brain begins to try to figure it out. And
Mm.
so
Oh, wow.
affirmations, and I used to teach this for years. I've been teaching that affirmations don't necessarily work. They actually can be a negative resonance in the spirit because if I say, I am rich and wealthy, your subconscious is going, bullshit. And it's
Right,
fighting you
right,
back, so you got this dissonance going on inside. Well,
right.
another question would be just to say, hey, where did all this money come from? And then your brain begins to figure out, well, where did it come from? And now your brain's going down a different set of thoughts, and your
Yeah,
spirit is engaged. And so these are manifesting questions. Where did all this money come from?
yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
And also a big part of that too, in my opinion, is I am a big believer in positive affirmations. So
Mm-hmm.
um, if I if and a part of that is I am worthy, because
Yeah. So,
if I don't feel like I'm worthy, how's the universe going to give me something I'm not worthy of?
yeah. Yeah.
And
Well,
so, whenever I had a thought of lack, I would say, I am worthy, I am abundant. And it took it a while, but eventually I began to believe it, because a belief is only a thought that you think over and over again until you believe it, right?
yeah. Yeah.
So that's why I'm real big on positive affirmations, that I say
Yeah.
it long enough to where I believe it.
Yeah. Yeah, and and I think everybody is different. A lot of people are going to respond differently. I'm one
Yeah.
that I just never for me the affirmations, but I know they work for a lot of other people. A lot of people.
I can see where you're coming from, because yeah, it's like the law of attraction. Esther and Jerry Hicks. You
Yeah,
ever read any of her stuff?
I have Hicks,
Abraham Hicks.
Abraham. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Well, she kind of thinks that too. But I was on to something, and then I lost it.
Hmm, hmm.
Oh, just when, like you say, where's all this money coming from? Your ego saying, what money? So she talks about, you have to go beyond what you're seeing
Yeah, and
and
that's part.
imagine it, right?
Yeah. And so that's part of for me the manifestation meditations because I'm taking people, it's like you're diving past all that negativity that because you're going from your alpha and beta thoughts and you're going into delta and theta and you're doing it within a very short time into the meditation space where that's a powerful reconstruction of your thought patterns, really
Right,
powerful.
exactly.
and
Right,
and so that's where we do the work, and so that's why it has worked so powerfully, during the retreats, is people get major shifts. Now, not everybody, because not everybody is able to let go. Their ego
right,
is so caught.
right.
And those people I have to do individual work with on a regular basis to get them past that, but everybody can get past it. Everybody can.
Identify, delete, and reprogram a
Yeah.
new subconscious mind. Because, see, I grew up, when I'd ask my parents for money, they'd say, I don't have it. We can't afford it. We don't have it.
Same here.
So,
Same
so
here.
when I was, so, I was programmed with a sense of lack. I mean,
Yes.
they taught me the oil came from dead dinosaurs in college, which is bullshit. But that's lack, you see.
Yeah.
So at night, I had to reprogram, because right before you go to sleep is the best time to reprogram your subconscious mind
Yeah.
with abundance. I am abundant. I am abundant. Just keep saying it over and over again at night. And it finally got into my subconscious to where I am abundant. Okay.
Yeah.
And
Love it. Love it.
took a minute.
Well, we're gonna wrap it up here. You got any final things? Any?
Yeah, let me tell you this one last story.
Okay.
In my first book, it's called The Rainbow, and that's the title of my second book, The Rainbow: A Journey to Unconditional Love. So I take a trip to Sedona, Arizona. These people invited me from Canada. Did I tell you this story?
It almost seems like it, but keep going. I don't quite remember.
Yeah. So anyway, these friends on Facebook invited me to come to Sedona on a spiritual retreat. And I'd always wanted to go to Sedona. I said, "Yeah, sure, I'll go." And a friend of mine had moved out there about 8 years prior, so I called him and told him I was coming and like to meet up with him. So I get out to Sedona and we do a fire ceremony.
Hmm.
So we all write a letter to God, and I asked God to help me finish writing my first book
Hmm.
because I'd been working on it for like 8 years,
Yeah.
and then to send me the woman that he wanted me to be with, and
Yeah.
to show me a sign that he got my letter. And what the sign was, a rainbow,
Hmm.
right? And so put it into the fire, send it out in the universe. So the next night, I meet my friend at an AA meeting. He goes, I call him. I say, "Hey, look, I want to meet. Let's go to dinner, or whatever." He goes, "Well, why don't you come to an AA meeting that I'm chairing tonight?" I said, "Yeah, sure." So I get to the meeting. Everybody gets there. He stands up and says, "I want to welcome everybody to the Over the Rainbow group of Alcoholics Anonymous." I start crying like a baby. And he had given me some literature to read, and I couldn't even read it right. And so I'm sure those people were thinking, "God, this guy from Alabama, he can't even read," because they don't know what happened the night before.
Yeah.
And so I end up finished reading it, but rainbow kept going through my mind, rainbow, rainbow, rainbow. And so we, at the beginning of almost every meeting, or at the end of the meeting, we give out sobriety chips, right? People get sober for a year and 2 years, and we give out, year chips too.
Yeah.
So they were giving out chips, and they said, "Well, does anybody have a 1 year chip?" And this girl jumps up. She goes, "I do, I do." And so she gets her chip, and somebody asked her how she did it. She goes, "Well, I was on my way over here, and I was just so filled with gratitude that I hadn't had a drink, in a year. And I looked out the window at Bell Rock. They've got these mesas, these beautiful mesas, and
Yeah.
they've named most of them. At sunset, they light up in this bright orange. They're really, if you've ever been, you know what I'm talking about. And she goes, "I looked out the window at Bell Rock. I was so filled with gratitude, and all of a sudden, somewhere over the rainbow started playing on the radio." And I start crying again. So then we go around the room sharing, and this guy goes, "Oh, April, I'm so proud of you. I remember growing up, I used to call you by your nickname, April Rainbow." So three times in 10 minutes, rainbow, rainbow, rainbow. So I'm
Wow.
thinking, okay, God, you must have got my letter. So rock on. About another 8 months, I finished writing my book. I got a deadline, set myself a deadline, finished the book, got it published in April of 2019. Came out number one new release in substance abuse category of all categories, but
Wow.
that's okay. Number one new release on Amazon,
Yeah. Yeah.
and so rock along another 6 months, and I'll try. I know you're trying to shut it down, but they won't. I'm trying to hurry it up. Another rock along another 6 months, and I meet this girl, and we start dating. And I'd never told anybody what I'd asked God for in my letter. I told him I wrote the letter, in the rainbow part of it, but not the contents of the letter. I never told anybody what the contents were.
Yeah.
And so we start dating. We're watching a movie one night about 3 weeks after we start dating. just out of the blue, she turns to me. She goes, "You know, my mama used to call me Rainbow when I was growing up." I said, "No, she did not." And so she confirmed with her aunt and her dad, you know. So I'm thinking, well, this has got to be the woman that God sent me. And so we get engaged about 6 months later, rock along about another 2 years. And it was like an unconditional love I've never had before. I mean, she could have killed somebody. I would have helped her bury him in the backyard. I mean, it was, we had no, and she was the same way. She said, "John, I've never loved anybody like this." And, um, you know, it was going deeper and deeper. I mean, through the years, the couple of years that we were together. And then she, gets she goes through a partial hysterectomy. And I take her to the hospital, you know, and they take her back into surgery. They bring her out after recovery, and I'm there, you know, waiting on her. And she opens her eyes after the surgery, and I knew in that instant that was not the same woman I'd asked to marry me. It was just like an intuitive knowing. I said, that's not the same woman. A week later, it's like, "Get the F out," told me. And I said, you know, like, what? You know, that's just like out of the blue.
Wow.
And so she broke up with me, went through the darkest night of my life, darkest dark night of the soul. Was praying and meditating for 8 months, you know, solid. I'm talking about 24/7 in a
Yeah.
state of prayer. And so I finally, I didn't know, she never explained what happened. And so I had a reading with Jenny 2 months later. And all these readings are in my second book, you know, while we were together. I even told Jenny before I met the girl, that the next time I see Jenny is, you know, I'm going to be with my twin flame.
Hmm.
And a year later, I took her up to meet Jenny.
Wow.
And Jenny did a reading, and, you know, she goes, "John, you need to get over." Her mother came through, right, from the other side. Her mother had passed, you know, a while back. And she goes, "John, you need to get over yourself. Y'all planned this." So that's when I found out that it was a soul agreement, you know, like I said earlier at
Yeah.
the start of our interview, between me, my twin flame, and my soulmate, to come down into these bodies and meet. And what happened was, I'll give it away, but sometime before we met, soulmate leaves body, twin flame walks into body. We meet. We have this incredible love, unconditional love relationship. During surgery, twin flame energy leaves body, soulmate energy comes back in the body. That's how I knew it wasn't the same person. It's energy, it's all energy, right?
Yeah.
And everything was perfectly orchestrated in that relationship so I could learn unconditional love.
I love
And
that.
that's when she came out and did the curtsy, you know, and
Hmm.
appeared in my head and said, "Great performance," which it really was. And I'm going to get her good next lifetime, too.
Oh, wow. Well, John, thank you so much for being on here and for sharing, and look
Yeah.
forward to, we'll have the gathering. That'll be the Sunday after this airs, and look forward to having you join us there, and we'll talk about that.
This like this Sunday?
No, no, no. We'll have to decide. We'll decide when to air it, and
Oh, okay. Yeah,
we're
yeah, yeah.
available for that
Yeah,
Sunday,
yeah,
and
yeah.
uh, and then there'll be 10 to 15 people usually that are on there that just they
Yeah,
have
that's
questions
fine.
and comments and stories as
That'd
well.
be great.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I'll probably be up at Chrissy's, but that's fine. We can, you know, do it like this. And then you'll send me a copy or send me a link so I can share it whenever you're ready
Yep.
for
Yep.
it.
I will. I will. All
Cool.
right. Well, thank you, John. Blessings to you, and thank
Thank
you
you,
to
man. I
all
appreciate
of.
you. It's great meeting you. Love you.
Yeah. good meeting you and having this opportunity here. So and I want to thank
Yeah.
all of the listeners and your support has been, what keeps this ministry going. So blessings to all of you, and we'll see you all next time. Take care.
See you, man.